My name is Finn. You can find me on YouTube at Finn Barbell. I've been an online fitness coach for about the last 8 months. Before that, I was doing personal training for a year, and before that, I was coming out of college, went into a career in financial advising, and just wasn't panning out the way I wanted to because number one, I had some self confidence issues at the time, and number two, I was falling back into some drug habits that I had initially started when I was in college. And that's kind of where my story really starts. Is I've always been into fitness, I've always been into self development, and when I got into college, I grew up in a type of environment where my brother died at a very young age. So my parents were always super strict as far as what they allowed us to do. And I never really got the chance to have any fun. So when I got to college, I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna let loose. And I let too loose and really found myself in a rut where I was waking up my senior year. I was selling Coke and Xanax, probably counting like 1,000 pills a week, waking up with a line of cocaine and continuing the day with a couple of Adderalls and then finishing the day off with a couple of Xanax. And it was really rough. I got to the point where um, I was checking out the windows, paranoid because I thought the cops were after me, uh, just absolute paranoia. And that was going on for months. And it got to the point where I overdosed, mixed a fake perk with some other substances, and ended up in the ER. And kind of at that time, I was also self isolating because it was during the COVID shutdown. And just I was having so much mental health issues, nobody wanted to be around me, anyways. So luckily that night I actually went to a party, and at the time I was literally going to parties and I wouldn't talk to anybody. But this particular night I just happened to run across one of my friends, and he basically looked out for me and walked me back to my apartment. Everything was cool. But then I started turning purple, and the next thing I know, I'm waking up with a catheter on my dick in the hospital and my parents there. And that was one of the most demeaning fucking experiences ever. But after that, I was so fucked up, I went straight back to the Xanax. As soon as I got out, I had a whole fucking shipment on me. So fuck it. This is my last 2 weeks of senior year. Might as well live it up the last 2 weeks, and then I'll quit cold turkey afterwards. And, basically, I didn't overdose again after that, but it was really bad. And then I quit cold turkey coming out of college, went into like a really bad mental state. I mean, then it was like do or die. I mean, I had saved up this money that I made drug dealing in college, and never had the best relationship with my parents. They gave me a deadline, hey, get out of the house by August 1st, and I came home in June. And so I was like, okay, I gotta figure something out. So I took the first fucking job that came to me. That job was entirely commission based. Made one commission the whole time because it was basically calling people, friends and family, and trying to get them to invest their money with a 22-year-old fresh out of college who's still coming off drug issues and has low self confidence. That didn't work out. Went and got another job, same industry. This job, they offered me a um, salary, but the salary was $14 an hour. And for me, that was better than nothing because they told me, hey, we're going to pay you this $14 an hour salary until we get to the point where we're comfortable giving you clients. And then at that point, you're going to make commissions. So I was like, cool, I'll move out of my parents' house, live off this drug money. And then, I'm making $14 an hour, but I was still spending my money like a retard. I was still going out to the club every night. I was still fucking doing Xanax. And it got to the point where my job basically, they had me doing grunt work. Like they kind of wanted to put you in your fucking place because they're getting a lot of college kids who are fresh out of college who think they know something like myself and don't really know shit. And so, they had me, I remember the last 2 months, I was literally 8 hours a day, every single day, sitting in front of a computer or sitting in front of a scanner and unstapling papers, sending them through the scanner. And then I would go and eat lunch and then get back to it for another 4 hours for 2 months. And then at that point, I was falling back into my Zen habits. I'm blowing through all my money. And it came to a point where I told them, I'm not going to be able to support myself like this anymore. So I either I need to go part time and get another job, or I'm not going to be able to work here. And they told me, get out. Basically, they were helping me pack my stuff up that same day. They didn't want me there anyways. So that's kind of where this all started. That's when I decided I hit a breaking point where I was like, this is so fucked, because I'm like, I thought I overcame everything when I quit, when I came out of college and went through that whole overdose experience. I thought, like, now real life starts, but that was not where real life starts, because then I got to the point where my bank account was almost completely run dry. And then it was do or die. Like, I had to find a job. Went and found a personal trainer job. Luckily, I was able to secure that quick and just work my ass off there. I was there every single day, 6 a.m. to 8 at night, 7 days a week, because I had nothing else to do and I needed the money. And I did that for about 8 months straight. And then it got to the point where it was like, okay, this is not sustainable anymore. So I want to stay with fitness. I found my calling. I found my calling with the YouTube, but I need to turn this into something else. And that's when I started online coaching. So that's kind of what brought me here to where I am today. Lot of, lot of negative experiences, but also a lot of positive experiences. And I feel like that's a big part of the reason I'm into the self-development stuff. Obviously, it kind of started with fitness, but even though I'm a fitness coach, it's much more than that. Fitness is just the way that I help men build their discipline and become greater versions of themselves.
Yeah, fitness is the real gateway drug to real self development. I mean, you have to go in there and lift the weights and do the routines, and you're the one that has to do it, and you're the one that has to motivate you. And it's that's like part of the process, right? Is just getting yourself to do the thing. We share a pretty similar story actually. Not as extreme drug use, but kind of growing up and having a real rough time. It almost seems like perpetually no one really wants us anywhere. We're just sort of like a burden to the world. So we have to create problems for ourselves, and then we become like addicted to the problems we create and stuff like that. I mean, I was in the majority of my early 20s homeless, broke, kind of on the street, just sort of, doing that whole lifestyle. And it was pretty rough, man. But now the more I look at it, it's so beneficial to have those experiences. And I always look at people who don't have those experiences, like, kind of what's wrong with you? I mean, I'm not necessarily in that situation now. I mean, I'm in a pretty good spot, but I'll be walking down the street getting a coffee or whatever. Like, oh, that bush over there, that could be like a good hideout. If I ever like, if ever shit goes wrong, I could sleep there for a night. Or that dumpster, I know that that dumpster always has food. Like, even if I'm not in that position now, I still have that sort of street dog mentality because I think you have to. And that's what your recent kind of video that you posted today was about, which
Mhm.
was you have to keep the flames and the embers of your life going. And most people, like, their flame just bloop, you put a little water on it, their motivation just dies out. But when you go through that struggle, you just have to, like, you realize what the flame is within you. And that really, if you don't let it go out, it never really will go out. So that was pretty inspirational, man. You're an inspiration to me because, again, like I said, we have a lot of similar experiences. And
Appreciate that.
that's why I'm having you on, man. So where do you think all this is going to go for you? Like you said,
Well,
you wanna go beyond the fitness and more into the self development. What is like our, let's say you reach 10,000 subscribers, then 25, 50,000. What's the evolution of your content going to be like? at that stage? Where do you want to go?
That's tough to say. I think a good model of a person I kind of am inspired by is Wes Watson. I don't know if you've heard of him, but
I'd recognize him if I seen him.
he's like this big jack dude, but he's a fitness coach as well. But his big thing is he was in prison, Cali State Prison for 10 years. And he just came up on the scene talking about his crazy prison stories. And then he turned that into like a platform for him to, basically inspire people to make positive change in their life and that type of thing. So I don't know exactly where I'm going to take it, but I think that's kind of the direction I'm going in.
Maybe like a boot camp, man. You could have a boot camp. I'd go to it.
Yeah.
Because I
No.
think the biggest thing, when I was kind of growing up, I was kind of throwing myself against the wall as well. Just it's like I'd have a problem, but then I'd have to make the problem 10 times bigger to make it so that I'm the problem, to show everyone else that I'm the problem, kind of thing. And that was like my whole experience. And so I think like what I never got was a rites of passage, like all right, you're transferred now from a teenager to like an adult male. I never really got that. And I think that what the fitness industry is essentially trying to do is to invoke that type of archetypical, sort of building up of yourself, but it doesn't really have the ritual of, all right, you're officially a man now. And I think that so many young men in particular don't ever get that experience. I never got it. And so if you had a boot camp where you just kind of like yelling at our face and do more push ups, do more this, just kind of beating up on us, I think that'd actually be very beneficial.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought about that.
It's what it's what people need. I mean, males these days need a role model that they want to follow and they trust and has been where they want to go. And there's something too where we have to kind of throw ourselves into the fire to grow. And if you never have done that, you're not going to be anything in the world, you know.
Yeah. And I think that, like you said, a lot of men need an archetype. And I feel like that's a big part of the reason why this this self-development space is growing up, especially like the masculinity side of it, where it ties into like the red pill. I
Yep.
think that's a big part of the reason why that's blowing up right now. It's because guys like just don't have that strong male figure in their life, and they never had a rite of passage, like you said.
Yeah, I mean the red pill community is definitely beneficial. I mean, there's all this like kind of torn between it's bad, it's misogynistic, it's all this crazy stuff, man. But I think we're witnessing like the split of female education and male education and how they're so radically different. Like I'm kind of surrounded by like a lot of different females that are spiritual and have this sort of higher dimensional view of life, but man, I keep returning back to how men around me, they're just like real. And that's almost the highest form of spirituality for us is like don't tell yourself a lie, accept where you are completely, and you'll find that that's how you get to your spiritual destiny.
Yeah, I kind of hate that spirituality shit.
Yeah.
If you have to say that you're spiritual, you're not spiritual.
Yeah, 'cause you put most of these spiritual people in a situation that's bad, and they'll like, all right, where's my God, or I need my crystals, or whatever the fuck.
Hmm.
They always need something external. Whereas if you build yourself internally so much that you don't need a ritual, a practice in a way, that is how you kind of get that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, man. Anyways, I like your content. Like I said, it kind of seems like it's getting increasingly more and more deep, and the views are also going down, and the interaction. And I think that's exactly kind of the epitome of how this is all going. It's like the more real you become in the world, it's like no one cares about you. The more real I am, less and less people notice. And it's such a paradox, man. What do you think about that?
It's tough, man. I mean, I definitely feel that, but sometimes like I've been getting deep lately, and not even because I'm necessarily trying to be more deep, but just because I'm going through changes myself. Like you were talking about with, being homeless. Like a month ago, less than a month ago, I sold my car off a couple weeks, like 2 weeks ago. And before that, I was at a point where I was down to the last $1,000 in my bank account. One credit card maxed out, the other one, $5,000 on it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get through this last $1,000 and I'm going to be sleeping in my car. So it kind of just, when you have your back against the wall like that, it kind of changes your whole frame of mind. And I think that's part of the reason my content has been evolving. And I was just, that's just the natural progression. But at the same time, like I try and keep it easily digestible because I think the people that I'm trying to win over are not necessarily all the way there. They haven't like crossed that bridge of I hate to say it, but getting into the spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they're more so, it's guys that are looking to get more women and, how they improve themselves, become more masculine. But really, it's just about becoming a greater version of yourself. So I try and keep it digestible and I try and like, I don't know, it's tough to say. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's the problem with the red pill content is that everything that they say is true and real, and it's like they're creating a blueprint for how the world is working. But you assume that the more information that you get, it will somehow help you. And like, here's all the strategies that you need to talk to women, and here's how you need to come across, make your frame a certain way. But if you don't pursue that education and you just become the person itself, then it's like all that stuff is rendered useless and you don't really need the education. And so I think what you're teaching is like kind of an anti pattern to the red pill where you address it. It's like, okay, it's cool that you get this information, but if you just become a better person, that's what the women want. But it's not really about the women because, like, why are you living your life for that anyways? Like, you should live for you. And
Exactly.
that's the future of where this has to go. And so I respect that.
Yeah. I think the red pill guys talk about purpose, but then they always go back to, and like that's how I got started with my YouTube, is watching the red pill content. Like I'm a big fan of Steph is Cold, his content. I don't know
Yep.
if you've ever heard of
Yep.
him. But that's what inspired me to get started with my YouTube. And if you go watch some of his older videos, like that, those shits when I was in that basement popping Xanax every night, that shit would bring me to tears. And that was, one of the reasons why I'm still alive and didn't let it go too far. So like I got big respect for those guys, but also they talk about purpose, but then they always go back to females. And it's like, why are you living anyways if the whole thing is about females? And I get it, that's what gets the views, but I feel like you got to reel people in that way, but then not make it all about that because it's not all about that.
Yeah, like you do have to kind of trick your audience, get a flashy thumbnail. Here's like a picture of like a chick, and you're gonna get this one if you do the right thing or whatever. And all that kind of stuff is like super abusive to my nervous system. Like I'll watch like a thumbnail or something, and it will be like some dude making a crazy face with like yellow letters and all this like sort of stuff. And I think we need to evolve the content to be just more real. Like what do we have to like trick you to like watch my video? And if I have to trick you to watch my video, get fucked. You know what? You're not supposed to watch my video. Because it sort of plays upon that stuff, man. I mean, it's like we're trying to say deep things, but we still are at operating under like surface level conditions. It's weird, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough because I'm caught in between just being like you and not giving a fuck and being like, okay, I don't want to do this catchy thumbnail and making the topic about something. But at the same time, I also think like if I can make that catchy thumbnail and make this topic about women, even though it really has nothing to do with getting more women, and I can build a bigger audience doing that, then I can make more money, invest that more into this channel so that I have a bigger audience, and then I can kind of turn it in more the direction that I want it to go. So like I'm caught in between just not giving a fuck and just playing the game. And I think that's kind of the point I am with my content right now, where like I don't really know what to do.
Yeah, just figuring it out. We're kind of at the same spot here. I'll feature some people that are totally random and hey, we're having a conversation, then I'll do a video of myself. We'll do different talks. I mean, content right now is really cool. I mean, you can just post whatever you want and people can just vibe with it. So it can evolve, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's all happening for a reason. I mean, people are always talking about how we're in like the worst timeline ever. Things are going bad. The Illuminati, there's no chance. Don't even try to evolve because, we're all fucked. And by 2030, XYZ, yeah, that stuff doesn't even feel true. I mean,
No,
people
it's
look
not.
for more and more justifications not to be who they want to be. And this world is almost giving you more and more convincing narratives to attach your mind to be like, yeah, I really can't be what I want to be because XYZ thing now. And you just have to break through all of that, just be who you want to be and build yourself, design your reality, and, just do that. So you're definitely a reality designer. I can tell that, man. I mean, when you go through hard times like that, it, it, it builds you into the person that later on you'll admire. How old are you? You're 25?
24.
24? Yeah. So I'm 4 years older than you, and when I was 24, I was basically batshit crazy too. Just like always on some shit, and you get over it, man, and it just you grow out of it and it works out. You look back at those times like, oh man, like, oh, that was crazy, and I'm super happy I went through that. I'm sort of like more traditionally educated from the spiritual front, but the more I've become real, I kind of see less value in it. And I think it all just represents a certain phase of life. I mean, you're in a phase of life, we're all in a phase of life, and in a way, your content style, I think, is what I appreciate the most more than the highly edited videos. There's a lot of creators that I talk to now that I have future podcasts lined up for that they just like put a camera up and just start talking for 20, 30 minutes about being real. I mean, it's pretty, it's an upcoming media format that you're doing. People are doing it.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
I
I
like it.
mean, I can't be real, but not be too real. I try not to, because I feel like if you try to be real, then you're not really being real. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a
But
weird paradox all around, ain't it?
yeah. I got a question for you because I was just drinking this water bottle. I got a buddy down here, or somebody who I know in Austin, who's super into like the plastic, uh, our testosterone levels are going down. And I see a lot of content creators like Hamza and stuff talking about that type of stuff. So what's your opinion on like all that type of stuff of like carnivore diet,
Yeah.
microplastics, and all that type of bullshit?
Well, I will say, when I was in my early 20s, I was a vegan. And so that was when I was starting to really infuse myself into, how can I heal myself and get better and all this kind of stuff. And that ended disastrously, because being a vegan will just destroy. I got like 6 or 7 cavities. My skin was starting to sag. Had a bunch of problems. And so I tried that. And then when I tried the carnivore diet, it actually did help me. I don't do it anymore, but I think all these things are kind of rooted in not fear, but there's sort of things that it's like another add-on to your reality that you have to put over top of yourself to like feel okay. There's people that are afraid of 5G. 5G is like gonna nanobot electrocute us into a different dimension. There's the seed oils. I just had seed oils last night. I
Yeah.
mean, oh, I can't drink Aquafina water out of plastic because it's gonna lower my testosterone, like you're saying. Man, I do all this stuff. And when I was doing anti patterns away from this, when I was making sure I was getting spring water, making sure all my food was organic and non GMO, I would think I was in my worst health ever because I was so fearful that I really needed it. You know,
Mhm.
you could eat like macaroni, you could have stuff out of like a plastic bag, I mean, you'll be fine.
Mhm.
And it's just people getting more and more soft and like the Paul Saladino, always in the grocery store. Hey, don't buy this thing because it's crazy for you. Man, I do all this stuff, and I
Mhm.
just keep on getting better. How's that supposed to work?
Yeah. I mean, I'm like, I try and avoid the stuff when I can due to my financial situation. I can't really right now. But when I got the money, I try and obviously put good foods in my body. But I feel like people just take it way too far. And like you said, it's out of fear. And like
Hmm.
guys are doing it because they think that's why testosterone levels are low. But I think the fact that you're even doing that is probably half the reason why your testosterone levels are low because you're
Yeah.
focused on all the wrong things.
Yeah, you really think that if you don't have seed oils, it will improve your testosterone, which is kind of like a beta behavior. Just eat whatever is in front of you and tackle the day. And that will kind of counteract. Yeah, yeah, it's basically like that.
Yeah.
That kind of sums up my belief about it. I mean, there's all sorts of fringe ideas to believe about reality, and it's all different constructions of our paradigm. It's just a different paradigm. I know some people that can't be on technology at all because they feel the vibrations in the air. And so they're like, oh, I'm just not going to use technology. It's like, well, try to live in the modern world without technology.
Exactly.
So you got to like balance both things. I mean, we're always breathing in pathogens and probably microplastics all the time. I'm not
Mhm.
wearing organic cotton. The shirt's from a thrift store. This from a thrift store. Everything I've got on's from a thrift store. It's probably not organic hemp. Just
Yeah, that shit pisses me off. I'm not gonna lie. What's your experience with psychedelics? You seem like a very trippy guy.
yeah. So I did a video on psychedelics. I've probably, and that, I think when I was in my early 20s, that was what unhinged me the most.
Mhm.
I definitely have a prone history of potentially having a little schizophrenia, if you even want to call it that. And so you're not
Mhm.
supposed to do psychedelics if you kind of have that instance. But I've done psychedelics over 300, 400 times. And so, I mean, after my 50th one, I was like, okay, I understand how reality works now, but it seems like I can never put the pieces together. And that's sort of what happens in psychedelic realms is you access your oneness and creator to like the fullest connection of God, but then it goes away 3 days later. It's like popping
Mhm.
Xanax or anything else. I mean, I did a bunch, basically every drug that you can do once. I've done it once before. And it's the same thing. You have to keep on popping it to get the next high.
Mhm.
And it
Yeah,
never
that's
comes.
yeah, that's tough.
Alcohol, same thing. I mean, no dependence on all of it. Just be sober. And, this is the only stimulant I take. A little bit of butter in my coffee. That's it, man.
But yeah,
So tell me a little bit about your fitness style. What's different about your coaching? And, for our audience here, if they were to pursue that with you, what comes with it currently? What's your offering?
yeah. So my offering right now is I give you a workout plan. My workouts are kind of full body. My big thing is I'm trying to help guys who are on busy schedules. So I'm trying to be realistic, and I'm trying to help guys who are like in that 9 to 5 kind of trap, just navigate their schedules. So that's kind of how I approach the workouts. I'm giving you a custom workout program. I'm giving you a custom nutritional plan. For the nutritional plan, you're tracking your macros. I give you that flexibility. And then really where I come in, because you could find a nutritional plan, you could find a workout plan on fucking bodybuilding.com for absolutely free. So why would you pay for me? Because I'm basically your mentor. I'm the guy that's holding you accountable because anybody can go follow a workout plan, anybody can go follow a nutritional plan, but nobody is going to have, a lot of guys don't have that person in their corner rooting them on. A lot of guys do not have like solid friends that are really encouraging them and holding them accountable. So that's kind of where I come in is I'm getting on calls with all my guys twice a week. We're talking about, what type of habits they have in their life, and then we're determining how to fix that. And like I said at the start of this call, fitness is just that is like, or like you said, fitness is just that gateway drug where that's how you introduce discipline. So I think a lot of my guys come in with the expectation of just getting bigger, but then they realize that it's a lot more than that. And that's not really my agenda. My agenda is helping you grow as a person, become more disciplined, and just discover like what your true purpose is in life. Because if you're fucking around on all sorts of different shit, not only is that going to affect your fitness, but that's going to affect, you're never going to find what your life is really about when you're under the influence of all types of shit.
Yeah, everything, not just food or exercise, just the whole deal. And so it seems you've had to basically strip yourself of all that, you had before that was inefficient to bring yourself to who you are. And so you are understanding of the process of elimination. It's kind of crazy how we as like teachers have to kind of actually go the role of the student, and we almost have to like go to the extreme edges because then we can actually help people at that spot. And you'd be surprised how many people are at like just super low levels, but even still, we can kind of still be above it and not recognize that they're low. It's like, you're in your videos, you kind of portray as if you're like in a low condition right now and, like have problems and stuff, and they're real. But the thing is like you're actually still in a very high place, and you're almost like higher than average, mentally, emotionally, physically. And everyone else, they're higher in all the things that we can see, like, oh, they got some money, or they got a Mercedes, they got a house to live in. Okay, cool. But all that stuff is the easy stuff. It's the stuff that people like, okay, you work a job and you just go with that job every day and make the money. Now you have the things. It doesn't mean anything. And so all the important stuff that you're developing now is actually what's important. But this world doesn't really care about that. It's kind of ironic. It's like you're a good person. Well, no one gives a fuck. Until you have to kind of harden yourself up and realize the total picture that you have to develop into. And it's hard. It's
I
hard to do
believe
that.
real value will always rise. So I feel like that's kind of what, like you said, that's kind of what we're seeing now with the self development and the red pill space. And I feel like if I just keep being me and you just keep being you, eventually it might not pay off now, but it's going to pay off in some way down the line, whether it's the way that we anticipated it or whether it's a different way. But I feel like as soon as you sell your soul and take that route, you might receive the material success that comes as a result of that, but you're going to pay for that in other ways, karmic debt and all types of shit.
Yeah, and it's the stuff that a lot of people can't really like if the devil himself gave you, all right, I'll give you everything now, most people will take it. And I think I'm at a point in my life where he could come to me, show up in the physical right now, I'll give you $1 billion and this and that. I really won't even care, man. Because after what I've been through in my life and all the struggles I had, it's like that stuff doesn't even fill the slot that would be required to like, because I don't even have the hole anymore there. Because I had to build my own patch from within me. And so now all those like sort of lacerations aren't open because, all right, he's going to give me money or I'm going to get fame, a bigger house. Like, I don't care. Like, I'll live in a shed and then I'll eat from a dumpster, dude, because I've done that. So, like, who cares? It kind of reminds me of this, like, viral clip that was going on, like, a while ago. It's like, the only reason that you're not farther ahead right now is because you're not out here scamming people or you're not out here, selling stuff or pretending to be faker. There was a viral clip going on like that. I think that's real, man. That's the reason we're not as far ahead as we probably should be, because we're not out here scamming people, and we're not out here selling like a fake dream and all this kind of shit. We're just being real, and it will pay off.
I think there's truth to that, but also some people will take that and then take that to the extreme and then use that as an excuse to be
Yeah,
lazy and to not strive harder and to not try and make money. If you're broke just because you're being lazy and like, I mean, some people will think like, okay, this is real. And for some people it is like, yes, if you decide to really not sell your soul, so to speak, you're not going to make as much money. You decide to become an entrepreneur, you decide to become a content creator, it's going to be harder and you may never make it. But what you do have is that you fulfilled your life purpose. But some people will take that and think like, oh, I'm only working this bullshit job, or this is the reason I'm not successful type shit. So I
yep.
think take it with a grain of salt.